what's up everyone, Au5 here. Today, I'm going to be showing you how to make the most of a sample pack. Sample packs can be valuable sources of inspiration and content to work with, but oftentimes I hear producers using samples from packs that are either minimally processed or completely unaffected from the original sound. I personally find that a little uncreative. In this tutorial, I'll be showing you a multitude of different processing and creative techniques that you can use to make something that sounds entirely new and original. I'm going to be using my Freefall sample pack, which is out now on Gravitas Create. It includes over 200 samples, all my custom sounds, from basses, drums, synths, effects, vocal stems, from Freefall, Shock Diamond, and Emergence. So go head over there and check it out. I'll be walking you through my approach to constructing a song with only samples from the pack, Ableton stock plugins, and of course, Serum. So let's begin. So let's choose a different tempo than any of the songs that are on the EP, just for diversity's sake. Let's set it to 145. Let's throw in a drum rack, and let's bring up a kick and a snare. Let's start out with drums. Let's use the Shock Diamond kick, and let's use a snare from the Freefall pack. Let's use the dubstep snare. Let's make a MIDI clip, and let's make a dubstep beat. Alright, let's bring this out to 8 bars. And let's change this kick up a bit. It's a little too subby, so let's throw an EQ on there and high pass it. That's nice. Let's throw a saturator on there and beef it up a bit more. Let's do medium curve. That's nice. For this dubstep snare though, I don't like the tail, so let's shorten this up and make a new snare. Let's transpose this up +4. I like the top end of that, but I want the bottom end to be a bit deeper. So let's use a frequency shifter and transpose it down. Add an EQ to boost some of those lows. I'm going to make an instrument rack by hitting Command G, and let's throw another layer on here. Let's try the house snare. I like the tail of this. It's nice and crunchy. Let's set it to one-shot mode so it plays all the way through. Shorten this up. So I want the frequency shifter and the EQ just on this kick. And I'm going to high pass this house snare so we can get the body of the dubstep snare through without it interfering. Let's set this to around here. Nice. Let's put a reverb on here and make the tail longer. Let's throw a glue compressor on here to glue them together. You want this to be after the instrument rack. Turn on soft clip to prevent any peaking. And let's fade this attack in so we really get the attack from the dubstep snare and the tail from the house snare. There we go. That sounds a lot better. We need some kind of percussion loop, so let's use one of the loops in the pack. Let's do, I like this. Let's throw this in here. So Shock Diamond is in 174 BPM, and as you can see, this is not going to line up. So what we need to do is go into the clip, turn on warp, and then set our segment BPM to the tempo of the song, 174. So now it should be lined up. Alright, it's lined up, but it sounds weird and it's warped with complex. So let's do repitch. So this preserves the transients, but we lose a bit of high end. So I'm going to, well, firstly, I'm going to throw an EQ on here to filter out the kick and the snare, because we already have our kick and our snare. We just want the cymbals and the top end percussion. So let's throw an overdrive on here and bring back those high harmonics that are lost using the repitch mode. Nice, they really ring through now. Let's see how this sounds layered together. Sounds good. I want to change this beat up a little bit, so I want to crash right here. So I'm going to take a crash from the second half and throw it here. And I don't like this little roll here. So you can just take this segment and throw it here. Let's bring this here. I want to add some fills now, so let's make another track, new audio track. See what kind of fills we have in here. Let's go into the freefall pack, and we'll use, let's see what fill B sounds like. So I want this snare fill right here. So what we need to do is warp this. Freefall is in 134, so I'm going to set BPM to 134. And let's align this. So that sounds good. Let's throw a repitch on here. Brings the pitch a little bit higher. Still want it to be a bit more crispy. Let's use overdrive again. Same technique. This is a bit too loud, so it's -6. And let's EQ it. Take out some of those lows. Ooh, I like that snare fill. Let's throw this one at the end. Let's do the same thing. 136. Repitch. So I just want this. Let's adjust the alignment a bit. Have this start on the roll. I'm going to swap these fills. This seems more appropriate for a turnaround. I also want to take this snare out too, so let's just do the same thing that we did over here. Throw this here. Before we move on, I want to repitch these drums. They're a little bit too high pitched. So let's use the frequency shifter and bring them down. Nice. All right, so let's move on to basses. Let's create a new track, and I want to create a bass line. Bass harp. All right, let's throw this in and see what we can do with this. This up to 134. All right, let's make a completely new progression. So I'm just going to take a bit of this bass arp. Let's start this from here. Ooh, I like this pattern. Let's bring this down by 6. I'm going to constrain the loop marker here and set this to loop so I can drag this out. I did that by highlighting and then hitting Command L to set the loop marker. Let's put it into a different key than A sharp. Let's do D sharp. But I don't like how the complex warp mode sounds, so let's do beats and set the preserve to 16th notes. And let's just use this mode, so then we can bring the envelope down and get nice punchy plucks. I want to change the progression, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this segment, cut it by selecting and hitting Command E. Just make a new progression. There's a little sharp frequency in here, so I'm going to take an EQ and cut that out. Yeah, you can see that right there. So I'm going to cut this out. But to introduce the highs back in, we're going to yet again use the overdrive trick. I'm going to add some ping pong delay. All right, we need some driving bass under here now. So I'm going to high pass this to leave room for sub. And I'm going to create a MIDI track. Let's find a good bass to use to resample. Pulse bass phrase. I like this. Let's find a note that's closest to the key that we're in. So, seems like this is. And what we're going to do, let me align this to the grid. We're going to just slice out one note from here. So let's trim this so we just get one pulse. And let's resample this into Serum. So I'm going to throw Serum onto this MIDI track. And here's how we're going to resample. So this note here is F, because Shock Diamond is in F, and we are in D sharp. So what I'm going to do is consolidate this little clip right here. And now this is its own audio file. We can go into Serum and then type in F0. What that's going to do is it's going to create a window size at the wavelength of the frequency F0. So when I drag this into here, it should resample perfectly. Nice. We want these to smoothly blend together, so we're going to set our morph mode to spectral. Let's draw in our bass line. We want this pulsing eighth notes now. So what I'm going to do is use LFO1 to modulate the wavetable position. I'm going to create a ramp down. Let's invert this and set this to eighth notes. Let's set it to trigger mode. it's not driving enough. I'm going to add a sub, but before that I'm going to process this and remove the fundamental tone. Let's turn the random and phase down. And let's modulate the level of the sub just so it matches and it pulses a bit more. Let's do some low pass enveloping. Before we go into the effects, let's set our sub to direct out, and let's start modifying this even more. Let's load an EQ. Let's make a sweeping peak, modulating the frequency. And let's put a notch in the mid, these low mids here. I'm going to turn my output down because we're redlining. Let's throw a dimension expander on here, make it wider. And let's put distortion at the end. Just add a little bit of saturation. I'm going to extend this chord progression out and make it more interesting. So I'm just going to duplicate this and change this note. Let's do the flat 6. And let's reflect that in our bass. That's nice. I want to create some kind of impact in the beginning, some kind of bass impact, like a growl, for instance. So we don't need this track anymore. Let's delete that. Let's create a new MIDI track, throw another serum on it, and let's go through some growls. Let's look in free fall. I like growl bass C. Let's use growl bass C. So this is the flat 6 of A sharp. So this is going to be F sharp. So we're going to type in F sharp 0, throw this in here, and apply spectral morph. And now it should sound like a nice growl. So we don't need this anymore. So I want this growl to extend for an entire bar. Insert a MIDI clip. Draw in our note. We want this to sweep through the wavetable. So I'm going to use LFO1, route that there, set this to envelope mode. I'm going to cut out a space in these other instruments so this growl can have room. This growl needs more movement, so let's throw a filter on here. Let's do band 12 and have it modulated by the same LFO. Let's bring the mix a little bit drier and turn up the drive. I want the fundamental cut out of this so I can introduce my own sub. Let's add some multi-band compression. Really thicken it up. Throw some EQ automation on here. And we're going to use my static chorus effect as I explained in a previous tutorial of mine, which you can go check out. Make the mix 100%, turn the filter off, turn the feedback and depth down. And let's modulate delay 1 with LFO 1. Use dimension expander to widen it up. And some saturation to thicken it up a little bit more. I feel like there needs to be a bass sound for the turnaround here. So I'm going to cut this short and let's throw growl bass H here. So we're going to warp it, 134, and let's just stretch this out. So we need this 2 semitones down, but that sounds really bad. So here's a technique that I like to use. If I set the warp mode to texture and turn the flux all the way down, I can adjust the grain size and essentially tune the grain size to the note of the bass that I stretched out. So what I'll do is I'll loop this and then adjust the grain size until I find the note of the sample that I am warping. So it sounds like it's just about 36. There needs to be some more filter movement in here, so I'm going to throw a phaser on here. I'm going to automate the frequency of the phaser. Maybe give it a little bit of a fade. Nice. So I want another growl here, but a different one than this one. So I'm going to make space for that. Let's make a new audio track and let's see what's in emergence. I like neurogrowl bass A. Let's throw this down here. Set our warp to 140 and let's tune it to our chord progression. And let's set this to Complex Pro, because I like the sound of the Formants, but I want it to be a different key. Some low harmonics need to be reintroduced because it sounds kind of hollow. So let's use overdrive for that. And I want to add some more movement in here. So I'm going to use an auto pan. I'm going to automate the amount up so it flutters at the end. I want there to be a turnaround bass here. Let's use this one. Let's have it sweep down an octave. We're going to set this to legato and monophonic and then add some portamento. Nice. Throw an EQ on this and low pass automate it. And cut this bass out here. Let's try resampling a vocal and making a pad out of that. Let's go into Shock Diamond, vocals. Howl into the night. So I like how she says moon, and I'm going to make a instrument out of that. So let's use a simpler and throw this vocal sample in there. And we're going to crop it to where she says moon. Let's put this on loop so it loops and then turn the fade up. Let's put a reverb on here and really diffuse it so it turns into a pad. To make a chord progression out of this, we're going to use our bass progression. Let's make this pad more interesting. Let's put chorus on it. I'm going to throw an auto pan on here and make kind of a pseudo sidechain effect. Set the rate to quarter notes, make the shape, saw, and then invert it. I'm liking that. We need some thick chords for the downbeats. So what I'm going to do is go into the Shock Diamond pack. There's some juicy chords in here. Let's use the chords from chord stack A. Let's transpose it to the proper key. So I'm going to create a warp marker and just stretch it out just enough so it fills this half note. I don't like the sound of complex mode for these chords, so let's try texture. And let's tune the grain size to the root of the chord. about 43. Let's fade this in. Put some reverb on here, make it a little bit more spacious. And then let's use one of these major chords over here. And let's tune it. Let's do the same thing as before. It's about 29. 30, there we go. And let's fade this in as well. And I want to copy this auto pan effect from this neuro growl to the chords, just for consistency. Let's reduce this just slightly. Let's take this note off. This growl needs a bit more mids, so let's just EQ that. Let's EQ these a bit too. Cut out some of the lows. Let's add more melodic elements. I'm going to use the beep arp from Emergence. So this is an F sharp and we need it in D sharp, so we're going to transpose it down -3 semitones. It's a little too similar to the original sound, so let's stretch it out. Let's try beats mode and using only half the envelope. Let's set it to 1/8 notes. Let's just copy this over so it's consistent. And these notes don't really work. So we're going to transpose it down. And then transpose these notes down one more. And then just copy this whole thing over. I want this to fade in. Let's throw a ping pong delay on there. Maybe a redux to bring out some high-end content. We need some melodic transitional elements now. Let's throw this trance pluck arp in here. I'm going to use grain delay. Grain delay is really cool because you can transpose the delays. So I'm going to set it to 50% wet dry and then turn the pitch up to 12. And then turn the frequency down. Get this really cool sparkly effect. Turn the feedback up a bit. And let's EQ low pass this in. Throw some reverb on there, make it sound more majestic and big. And I'm going to group these and automate the power to these and cut them off right here. So only the reverb tail comes through into the next bar. Let's throw another one here, but let's make this twice as long. Let's use the tail end of this. Sounds nice. I'm going to automate just the grain delay. And then low pass envelope this as well. This needs a melody line. Let me collapse all these, and let's make a new MIDI track. Let's just make a melody with operator for now. Let's use one of the samples in Shock Diamond. I want like a bell sound. Let's layer this with the glass bottle. So I'm going to create an instrument rack and throw this in here. Let's make the release longer. Let's transpose this down. Let's make this operator more of a pluck. And we need some reverb. I want this to have more of a plucky effect. So I'm going to select these, transpose them up an octave, and then I'm going to slightly offset them by 64th note. I'm going to push them forward. We got the lead down, we got the basses down, we got the synths down, we got the drums down. We need some effects. I feel like this transition here is a little awkward. I need like a reverse kick. And I know that I have one in here. Yeah, let's put this right before the snare so it sucks into the snare. Usually what I do is when I'm using reversed samples into something else, if it's like a reverse percussion sound, I will cut off what was the transient and then just leave everything else there. This is really starting to take shape now. I need like an ambience layer, I feel like. Let's throw in this verse vox. I gotta tune it. Ooh. Let's put this right in this transition. I'm not really concerned with tempo just because this is like an ambience effect. Let's put this at the end too. Let's throw a bit more reverb on here, just to make it a bit spacier. I feel like this needs to be a little bit thicker and a little bit brighter, so I'm going to duplicate this and let me warp the sample and let's transpose it. Let's transpose it up a fourth. So it's 5 semitones. Let's see how this sounds. And I'm gonna put an auto pan on these. Just very slight. I want to add one more effect. something that really signifies the transition. Let's go into freefall effects and use the downlift. But instead of it being a downlifter, let's reverse it and make it a riser. So let's turn warp on and make it twice as fast. Let's try something new. Let's set it to texture mode and automate the grain size. So if you go to grain size modulation, 100% is the maximum size that you have set, and you can reduce the grain size all the way to 0%, which is the smallest it'll go. Because it's being condensed instead of stretched, you're not really going to hear much of an effect until I transpose modulate it. That's cool. Sweet. All right, one of the last things that we want to do here is introduce sidechain compression. So what I'm going to do is select all of my instruments and effects that I want to be sidechained. I'm going to hit Command G and create a group. And the way we're going to sidechain is by using Serum Effects. I have a tutorial on how to sidechain with Serum Effects that you can check out more in depth. So I'm going to create a new return track and put Serum Effects on it. Then I'm going to put an external instrument on my kick and my snare and set it to Serum Effects. Now I'm going to go into Serum Effects, turn on Distortion, and use the cross shaper, edit A, set it to flat 0, and now this is going to be my volume attenuation. Going to assign LFO1 to the mix and create a volume envelope. Set it to envelope mode, turn on note latch, and then turn up the release. Next thing we want to do is route your group to sends only and turn it up. We got sidechain. I want to also sidechain this percussion loop, but because it's not in the group, all I need to do is assign its output to sends only and send it to the return track. And I might have to turn it up a little bit, but let's have a listen. And that is how you make the most of a sample pack. Thank you so much for tuning in and checking out this long tutorial. I hope this helped you learn something you didn't know about processing, resampling, or workflow. Don't forget to head over to Gravitas Create and check out my freefall pack. As always, stay creative, stay inspired, peace.